Hello and welcome to this tutorial on using Paymatter.org. For those of you who are not familiar with Paymatter, Paymatter is an invoicing, billing, and accounting software geared towards the automotive industry. This tutorial will be broken down into 5 easy parts. Throughout the getting started portion of this tutorial, we'll go over Paymatter's basic features, where the features are located, how to log in, and how to navigate the user interface. So in our main dashboard view, we have an overall measurement of how our business is performing throughout the pay period. Over here, we have our profit and loss statement. This is pretty much tracking your profits, your incomes, and your expenses, and letting you know how much you've made, how much you've lost, and what is your total profit. Over here on the right-hand panel, we have our transactions list and history. Transactions are basically any transactions you do, such as sending an invoice, a customer paying an invoice, or refunding a customer. Over here in the bottom left, we have recent invoices, which will basically have your customer name, the amount of the invoice, the due date, the status, and the actions taken by your customer. Over here on the lower right, we have our invoice analytics, and it's basically a pie chart that's going to go ahead and break down the analytics of your invoices, and it's broken down into 5 easily understandable statuses and points of your invoice. So we have overdue invoices, which will appear here in red. We have green invoices, which will appear here as paid. We have yellow, which will appear here as unpaid. That means you sent your customer an invoice, they viewed it, but they have yet to pay it. Draft invoices, which means that we've created them and drafted them, but we have yet to send them. And we have finally our sent invoices. So this is pretty much the circle of life for all invoices. In the even lower left, we have our recent estimates tab, which will basically show all of our recent estimates that you've sent. And we have in the bottom right our recent billing tab. This will pretty much show you all the recent bills that you've tracked using Paymatter's expense tracker. Going further up, we have our total balance. This is pretty much how much is pending in your account right now to be paid out. Over here, we have the total invoices, how many invoices you sent this month. If you are on a plan that limits the number of invoices you may send a month, then it's very handy to keep track of this number here. To the right, we have our total customer count, and further right, we have our total estimate count. When you log into Paymatter for the first time, you're going to see a little icon, a notification that states connect your bank account. The first thing you'd want to do, obviously, is connect your bank account because you want to get paid. By clicking on so, you can go ahead and see the different payment options that we accept with Paymatter. If you do not have a Stripe account, clicking this button will take you to Stripe, where it will then further prompt you to create a Stripe account. Stripe is useful for collecting online credit and debit card payments. Below, we have our PayPal account. So if you have a PayPal account, you may go ahead and connect it here. So if not, by clicking the button, it will take you to PayPal, where you'll be prompted to create a PayPal account. Finally, you can add a bank account here. In the top right hand side, we have our language changer once again. We have our night mode. So for those of you that enjoy dark themes, you can simply click on this button over here and change from light to dark mode. Over here, we have our settings cog, which will basically take you to the settings portion of your account. You have your login options over here where you can visit your profile, change your general information, including your password. You can also log out as well. And if we come to the left, we have our hamburger menu, which we can use to collapse and expand the menu. Navigating through Paymatter is fairly simple. Here we have our bank accounts tab, your products and services tab, which by clicking on it will expand it further, where you can add your products by clicking the new product button, or add a new service by clicking the new service button. We have our sales tab, which by clicking on it will expand it. Underneath, we have our estimates tab, which is where we can create new estimates. We have our invoices tab, which is where we can create new invoices. Our recurring invoices tab, which is where we can create recurring invoices. Our incomes tab, which is where we can track incomes that are not automatically tracked within Paymatter. We have our credit notes, our customers, and moving along, finally, we have our expenses tab. Underneath expenses, we have bills. So here's where we can use to track any bills by clicking the create the bill button. We have our expenses tab, our debit notes, so perhaps you may owe somebody something, and our vendors, where we can utilize Paymatter's built-in CRM features to track any new vendors. Furthermore, we have our accounting section of the Paymatter navigation menu. The first option available is the manual journal, where you can use to record or add any new manual journals. Our transactions tab, which we can use to go ahead and track new incomes, new expenses. We have our chart of accounts, which we can use to track all accounts, our assets, liabilities and credit cards, income, expenses, and equity. We have our assets, which we can utilize Paymatter's built-in CRM features to track our assets. And then we have our reports tab. Our reports tab is fairly straightforward, and here's where we can generate any kind of reports that we would like to go ahead and share with others, review ourselves internally, or just have. By refreshing it, you can go ahead and see your latest updated report. Here's your profit and loss statement. And finally, if we want, we can download a copy of this. On the left-hand side, we have different sections for which you can go ahead and generate a report for. On the left-hand tab, we have a few sections of which you can go ahead and generate a report for. And these are the things available that you can generate reports for. So such as profit and loss, balance sheet, tax report, sales by customer, purchase by vendor, account balances, trial balances, and account transactions. First thing you'd want to do whenever you create your first Paymatter account is navigate from the dashboard over to the Settings tab. By clicking on Settings, we're now taken to our company profile page. It is imperative that you fill out your company profile and information from the beginning so the Paymatter may work correctly. Once your information is filled out, you can go ahead and click on the Save button. Your information was successfully updated and saved. Navigating to the Users and Roles tab, we are now taken to our User Profile section. Here we can invite other users that may be a part of our company. And when we select our user, you'll see that every user type has a different role. We have admin, which means they'll have full access to banking, full access to products and services, full access to sales and invoicing, full access to expenses and bills, full access to accounting, full access to reports, full access to users management, and full access to any settings. Going further down the hierarchy, we have a super user, which means they will have limited access to banking, full access to products and services, full access to sales and invoicing, full access to expenses and bills, full access to accounting, full access to any reports, limited access to user management, and full access to settings. Going down further, we have the user, which is a regular employee. They will have limited access to banking, full access to products and services, sales and invoicing, expenses and bills, accounting and reports, and they will have limited access to users management, limited access to settings as well. Finally, we have the viewer. Moving further along within the settings tab, we now have the currencies section of it. By clicking on currencies, here we can add any custom currencies we would like to go ahead and utilize within Paymatter. By clicking add new currency, we're prompted to add a new currency. Here you can see the list of available currencies within Paymatter that you can go ahead and add towards your software. You can add a name, a symbol, and set it as our default currency. Moving further along, we have our invoice customization tab. By clicking on it, we're taken to a section and a page in which we can go ahead and customize our invoices. Here, we'll go ahead and create our own custom invoice template. Over here, we have our title input. This will be the title of your invoice. We'll go ahead and enter in the title invoice, and the subtitle is pretty much any relevant information you want to put under it. So we'll go ahead and say Paymatter's invoice. Over here, we can edit our footer, which is seen below right here. So we can say, thank you for being an amazing customer. Visit our website at www.paymatter.org. Over here, we have our default notes and terms. So your notes and terms are pretty much going to be this section right here. Below, we have the option to hide and or show any shipping addresses. For this purpose, we're going to hide it. Over here, we have our estimates section. So here we can go ahead and customize our estimate title. So we can say Paymatter estimate. We can add a subtitle. This is not an invoice, just an estimate. No payment is required at the time. Moving further along, we can go ahead and easily just copy and paste our footers information here. And the same thing with the default note and terms. Item labels, which correspond to this section right here, can also be customized. So we can say Paymatter product. Your price label can also be customized right here. and you can say cost or leave it as is. The amounts label is pretty much going to be right here in the bottom right section, and you can leave that as is. And over here we can choose to either hide descriptions, hide quantity, hide price, hide tax, hide category, or hide your discounts. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and leave this all as default. Save, and now we have our invoice template. Moving further along, we have the subscriptions tab. Here's where you can manage your subscription, see the start date, the renewal date, and what day you subscribed on, how much you're paying, and or upgrade your plan. Here we have the categories section of the settings tab. Here we can add new categories for products and services that we may offer. Let's say, for example, mirror. And we save. The same thing can be applied for services as well. Oil change. And we save. Moving along, we have the taxes section of our settings tab in Paymatter. Here we can create different tax rates for whatever reason. So let's say, for example, we want to go ahead and say Miami, Florida tax rate, and a base tax rate of 8.75%. And from here on out, Paymatter will automatically calculate and deduct any taxes from your invoices. Finally, moving along, we have the user profile tab. Here, that concludes the Getting Started tab within Paymatter. This hereby concludes the Getting Started portion of Paymatter. Stay tuned for the second portion of the tutorial in which we'll be going over the Sales tab.